All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got Gas, the morning edition, with Randy Kerdoon and special guest Terry Wilson. Terry, how are you doing this morning? Coverman66. Coverman66, what's that mean?
Same old, man. I'm doing good. I'm feeling good hanging out with you guys today.
Well, good. All right, you got a special edition of Gas this morning. As you normally know, I'm alone in the mornings. Randy and I get together for talking about cars in the evenings. And today we got a special edition with Terry because Terry's got some great stuff going on. And one of the things that just happened to Terry, he was part of the resurrection of Monster Garage. Tell us about what that was like.
Yep. Yep. It was great. It was the producers reached out to me from watching a couple of my videos, and the rest is history. They asked me if I want to be a part of it, and I was like, of course, because that's going to be something of history, because like Monster Garage, the first series, the first season, the first group of Monster Garage, they stopped, I believe, in 2005, 2006, and this one's coming back. So I jumped at the chance and the opportunity to be part of that, and it was wonderful. Everyone on the set, the crew, it was just a good time.
Is it going to be the same thing as we've seen before, where they take vehicles and turn them into all sorts of unusual stuff?
It's going to be that and then some. It's going to be some of the builds are going to be like outrageous, and I can't go into it because like legal made it no secret that hey, we'll come at you. So I gotta keep under wraps what I know, but I will tell you this: it was a funky experience, and I am so glad that I took advantage of it and they asked me. It was a pleasure to work with some of the best in the country.
All right, now you were part of one episode or multiple episodes?
Well, the way it's going is they have 8 episodes. I was part of one episode. Now the episodes start January 4th on Discovery, Discovery Go, and Discovery Plus. And now I shot the second episode, but that doesn't mean that the second episode I'm going to be on. It means that pretty much one of 8. I don't know if they're going to juggle them around. I'm not sure, what order they're going to put them in, but there was 8 of them, and we'll see what happens from there because it was just 8 outrageous builds. I don't even know if the one that I did, they keep us in the secret, in the dark of all that. So, but just recently they said that we can say that we were on the show, and that's when I posted. And just about everyone who's on the show pretty much posted something on some type of social media, coming out, Monster Garage, the second coming.
Yeah, so, and Terry is so. Go ahead.
No, that's pretty much it. It's going to be radical. It's going to be really cool.
See, Terry is so right when he says they'll shoot a sequence in an episode and they'll play it out of sequence. Here's a little trivia. There was a television show back in the 70s called Mannix, and it was about a guy who was a detective, and they actually started the show with episode number 2 or number 4 or something like that, and you could basically judge what the episode was based on the car he was driving. It was very, very weird. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. You never know what episode they're going to make number 1, 2, 3, or 4.
All right, now, you talked about a video.
I guess
You talked about a video you did,
I'm sorry,
Terry.
go ahead.
You talked about a video you did, or videos that you do, that you got recognized for. And we were talking about you being at SEMA and doing your videos there as well. Tell us a little bit about your history and what it is that attracted Monster Garage to you and your skills.
Well, it all started, I used to spend, like when summers come and you're not in school, my parents used to ship me and my sister off to South Carolina to, be with our cousins and our family, our roots. And my uncle was down there. He was a big car guy. Now you got to realize this is I'd probably say early 80s. And so these muscle cars that are going for in Barrett Jackson for like $150,000, you could pick those cars up for like a couple of $100 back then.
Wow.
And he was the A-body guy. He had GTOs, but his car was the Buick Skylark. He loved that car. And he actually went to the dealership. He bought a brand new 70 split bumper Camaro. And something went wrong with the cigarette lighter or something. He took it back. And then he saw the 71 Buick Skylark GSX Stage 1. It's 455, yeah. And he says, whatever I got to do to get that car off of that showroom and you take this D28 back, let's make it happen. And so he had cars like that. And I was at the age of like 9, 10, 11. I'm sitting up here driving these cars on the dirt roads of South Carolina. Driving a 64 GTO convertible. South dirt roads of South Carolina. It was like, it started when he was like, go get lunch. And I was like, I'm not riding a bike down that country mile. No. He goes, no, take one of the cars. You know how to drive a stick? I didn't at the time when I was like, what, maybe 9, but he showed me. And and so here I am driving, what the first car I took out was a 70 Buick Skylark with a 455. It was automatic, white gut, white vinyl roof. That was the first car. So took it down, got sandwiches. He saw that I know how to drive. From that point on, there you go. From that point on, I would drive any car I'd want. He was mostly a GM guy, but there was a few more cars out there. But like I said, that's how I cut my teeth. You know, I'm yanking engines out of cars with a chain because, down south, I mean, who had a cherry pick? We had a big old tree, hook up a chain to it, pull the engine out, back the car out, put the new car in, or whatever. So I learned the old school way. He taught me how to drift. He taught me how to do donuts. He taught me how to, stage. He taught me everything at the age of like starting at like maybe 9, 10. So by the time I was like 13, 14, it was a wrap.
That is the best relative ever.
Yeah, really. Did your parents know?
My parents knew I was down there, messing with him as far as like messing with the cars and all that. They didn't know to the extent that he was letting you drive the car, but then my parents, my mother, she lived down there as a kid. So it's the same, homestead. So, she knew that kids drive cars early down there, like 15, but at 9, no, she didn't know.
How did you see over the steering wheel?
I'm 6'3", so I was a tall kid.
Okay, good.
I was a tall kid. So, I was able to, push the seat up and, get up in there and just see. It was just a straight run to the store to get sandwiches. It wasn't like you're going into town. It was like maybe 2 miles down the road, but a lot of dirt roads that you can do donuts and everything like that. So he would be like, okay, let's go and do some donuts. I'm like, okay, which car do you want to take? I'll take the pretty 1969 Go.
Wow. Did your mother also have stories about that? Did she get to drive that young?
Yeah, my mother, she left at 15 because she was a smart kid. So she was in college at 15. So she wasn't really into the cars or anything like that. And my father, he's not a car guy. He likes a nice car. He liked a nice car, but he wasn't one to get his hands dirty. He was a business guy. So his hands are always clean, manicured and all that. So I don't know where I came from. Yeah. Guy always had a suit on. He was just a very proud, clean guy. He was a piano player. So, and
skips a generation is what you're saying. Okay. Maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm. You got it from your mother's side of the family.
Yeah.
All right. So you do videos. Tell us about your videos that you do.
Well, I started doing a video. It was this whole video thing was by mistake. What happened was I was building this car, as a matter of fact. This is back in the 71 Chevelle with an LS supercharged 6-speed. I was building this car, putting an LS in it. Now, back when I did this had been by maybe 2011, 2010, 12-ish. There weren't people doing LS installs. It was still fairly new. And the girl, my girlfriend at the time, she said, she saw me, taking pictures of me doing little things, to the engine and sending it to my buddies that I used to wrench with in college and high school that have moved away. So she's like, well, instead of, sending like 12 different, emails and attachments, why don't you just go and make a YouTube channel, give them the link, and they can see it whenever you post something up, you can see it. And I was like, that's not a bad idea. And you can make it private so they can only see it. So I did like maybe 2 or 3 videos showing them how I was doing. Hey, look at what I'm doing so far. I'm doing the wiring on this. Hey, look at this, look at this. And I finally got to a point where I was starting the car up. And I remember it was a starting party. I was like, we're gonna have a starting party. And I told all my buddies that lived around me, 6 o'clock, right now I'm at the Mexican restaurant getting my chalupas. But at 6 o'clock, we're gonna go back and we're gonna have a starting party. So, starting party, 6 o'clock rolls around, and I'm getting ready to start the car. But I was like, oh, I gotta go across the street because my neighbor, he's seen the car go from a piece of crap to actually, working. And he's like, I want to be here when you start the car. He happened to have been having a barbecue. So I go over to him, I said, Cliff, we're starting to develop now. And he goes, hold on, wait a second. So next thing I know, he had a barbecue going on. So here comes about 30 people, 30, 50 people across the street with beer, like eating plates, because they want to see the car starting. So I said a little prayer, started the car up, videotaped the whole thing. It's beautiful. All right. So later on that night, after it's all said and done, I was so keyed up, I put it on YouTube, but when you post a video, you got to make it private. It defaults to public. I forgot about that because I made all the other videos private and I gave the links to my buddies so they can just see it. So I was just so keyed up, send, and I forgot to make it private. A couple days later when I come back, I'm getting emails. I'm not really paying attention to it, but I go back and to post another video and I start seeing like 12,000 views, 2 days. I was like, I wasn't too sure what's going on. And my girlfriend was like, yo, you done started something. Look at this. Did you make it private? I was like, no, I guess I forgot to make it's public. And so that's how and
there you are. You're a star.
I don't know about that, but that's how it started. And it's funny because I don't know if you remember the guy, his name was Mark Campbell from Street and Performance. Mm-hmm. He was the guy, the godfather of tune port injections and went to LS's. So he was the guy that used to guide me and tell me, like, this is how you do an LS install and everything. So I learned everything from him. And we became good friends. I mean, you call the guy up on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, he'd pick the phone up. He was just that guy. And he had a company called Street and Performance, and that's what they did, tune ports and LS installs. And they had a foundry that made their own equipment. And he said to me, Terry, when you're ready, come on out to, he was in Mena, Arkansas, and I'll teach you everything. I mean, how to turbocharge, supercharge everything. And I was like, ooh, you give me the keys to the castle like that. So by the time I got my ducks in a row, which took about maybe a month, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna come on out there. I called him up and I learned that he had passed. So, that kind of broke my heart. And so he went out to help everyone. And he always told me, said, Terry, whenever you're in a situation where you can help someone, especially when it comes to LSs and stuff like that, do it. So I always listen to that, and I'm just a helpful person anyways. So from that point on, me and my girlfriend, which is my wife, by the way, now, she says, you got to help people out. This is a calling.
That's good.
What, people need this. There's a lot of people go out there and they find secrets and little tricks and they keep them to themselves. Why keep them to yourself? You're not reinventing the wheel. Help people out. Let them, hey, how'd you overcome this problem? Hey, I just simply did this, I got this part, and it worked. Coverman66 was born at that point.
All right, so if someone wants to find your videos on YouTube, where do they go?
What you gotta do is go to a browser and type in Coverman66 with no space, and it'll pop right up. And you'll see a picture of me looking all kinds of Muhammad Ali-ish. And what's it called? I get that all the time. And there's like 200 something videos in there of just about everything to do. It started out with LSs, but it morphed into body work, to just about everything, wiring. Because, the thing is that why stop at LSs? Why stop at tune ports? Why stop? I mean, suspension work, everything. And it's never me saying, this is how it should be done. It's me saying, this is how I did it. This is how I overcame this little obstacle I had.
So Coverman66, where did that come from?
Okay. Wow. I used to be a hip hop artist. Back in the late 80s, I was a hip hop artist, early 90s, I was a hip hop artist. And my stage name was, I was a DJ, back there with the turntables. And my stage name was DJ Undercover. And I used to make beats for my group, which turned out to making beats for other artists. And so I was like, well, I gotta get a doing business name, a DBA name. So I went to the town court and they were just like, I want to get Undercover Productions. That I said, I like that. So they looked it up. They said, it's already taken. and they gave me a bunch of names that sounded similar to Undercover, but different. And I was just like, you know, Coverman, ooh, I like that. Coverman production, I like the ring of it. And then I went home and then I tried to get Coverman. This is when AOL was popular, I guess, or Netscape Navigator. And I was just like, let me get an email address, you know, Coverman, you know, Productions, already taken, right? And I was like, oh man, you know, like, and I was like, okay, let me try a couple of, and you see if they had like Coverman 124371 or something like that. And then I saw one all the way down the bottom that said Coverman66. I'm like, well, those are the two, those aren't the two lowest common denominators in my birthday, but you know, like my birthday is on the 12/12, 6/6/12. I was like, that, okay, it works.
Yeah,
you know,
there you go.
I don't know how I figured it out in my mind, but I was like, we're gonna go with that. Okay, so Coverman66 at, you know, at Gmail, AOL, whatever it was at the time, but that was my email address. And that was how I named on YouTube. And, you know, like once it started going with the videos, I was like, I can't change the name now. And everyone just calls me Coverman or either 66 or whatever. You know?
Well, there you go. Now you got to get yourself now you got another Chevelle you're working on. Is it a 66 Chevelle?
Well, see, I knew you were going to say that, but it came late 66. So it's a 67, but it was built late 66. I checked the VIN.
All right.
So technically, it was built in 66.
Okay. Randy, we normally interview someone on talking about cars, and we ask them about the cars they have in the garage.
That's right.
Why don't you start with what you've got? You've got the two Chevelles. Tell us about those, and then what do you drive every day? Because you don't take those out in the snow.
No, they don't come out in snow. Well, the ones that go out in the snow is, I try not to take it out in the snow because you know, matter of fact, the other day, the ZL1, I have always wanted a ZL1. I always wanted the last year of, to me, I think the last year looked like a real, you know, 68 Camaro, which was 2015. And I always wanted one of those, and I had a SS. And again, my girlfriend, she went down to Virginia to pick one up with me because she was just like, you really need a nice car, because like I was driving a Taurus, but then I had all these other muscle cars, but she was like, you really should think about it, you know, because the car didn't have heat, but I was fine. I was like, listen, I got a 69 Camaro. I don't need, you know, a nice car. And so I was just like, you know what, maybe it's time I get something that's pretty decent. So we went down to Virginia and found a 2011 SS, and this had to have been about maybe 2004, 2013. And she saw me. She says, when I was on that lot, they had all those ZL1s in the back. And she goes, even though, she said, I know your heart was in that ZL1, but at the time I couldn't afford like a $60,000, $70,000 car. So I took the SS, and I was happy with it. Up until when my buddy called me up and said, Terry, we got a 2015 ZL1 on the lot here that's been here for a year. We need to get rid of it. Do you want it? I was like, what color is it? It's black. What, does it have a sunroof? I can't have a sunroof because for the roof, you know, the inside is a little lower to accommodate the glass and everything. And he goes, no,
I hate it when that
it's
happens.
a hard top. Yeah. And then I said to him, well, is it a stick? He goes, yeah. I was like, okay, fine. Let's go down and check it out. But he said, the only problem is that someone put their how do you say it? Their stink on the car. They took off, they debadged it. They did something with the wheels. They pretty much made it, you know, I got to bring it back. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, cool. So he gave me a smoking deal on it. It only had 26,000 miles on it. And the thing I liked about it, it was that it was a runner, because most people, when they got ZL1s, they got like maybe like 4,000 miles on them, and they're in the garage and everything like that. So I was like, no, see, I don't want that. I want something that I can drive. And this one it fit the bill. So that's my everyday car. So when the roads are clear, my everyday car is, I got a Trailblazer SS with a blower on it.
Okay. All right. What kind of cars have you had that you wish you could get back?
Oof. Oh man. That I personally own. I'm not going to talk about my uncle owned. I'm going to talk about that I personally own. I would love to get back. I had a 71 Cuda. I would love to get that car back.
Why did you get rid of it?
71. I needed a college car. I needed a car that was a little bit more reliable.
Mm.
And you bought a
I
Plymouth?
couldn't, that was a car that it was a Plymouth Cuda. It was a 71. It had the pistol grip. It had the 340 on the hood. And I remember I couldn't find the grill. I remember I couldn't find a grill for that because it's a big grill. It's a big mouth.
Mhm.
And I think $700 someone wanted for this. And this is back like maybe in like late, maybe 88 and 89, 90, something like that. And I was like, I can't afford, I got to get rid of this car. And I got good money for it. But now that I think about it, I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I paid $2,000 for the car. Yeah, I paid $2,000 for it. I got $7,000. But now if I had that car, but then I went out and got, what was it, a 80 Z28. And that I had up until maybe 3 years ago. I got rid of it.
Now, did it rust
Got to
before
the
your
point
very
where,
eyes? Yeah. Did it rust away?
Yeah.
Because you're in New Jersey. They still use
No,
salt
no, no.
on the road, right?
No, well, I drove the car, and I got a car redone and everything. And what happened was it was getting to the point where, I was caught up into my 71 Chevelle. I was caught into my older cars. This one was already painted and everything. And point where I started seeing a little bit of signs, and the love was there, but the love was elsewhere, And I wasn't looking to sell it. I had the car outside doing something with the garage, and they had closed off the main road. And so you had detour come through the main road right here. And a guy saw it, and he fell in love with the car. He was just like, I had one in his 50s. And we worked out a deal, and I threw out some crazy number, and he was like, deal. And he says, you can even keep the wheels, which I put on my 69 Z28. And so we left happy. I just said to him, if ever you go to sell this car, you got to give me first chance. And a couple of years later, he did call me up and said, listen, I know you want first dibs. And I told him, well, I'm into a 67 now. I can't, I got too many cars. I got 6 cars.
Only 6.
How many do you have, Bob? How many do you have?
7.
Okay.
All right. So tell us about
I
this.
understand.
I feel so inadequate. I only have 3. But anyway, go ahead.
So tell us what the 6 cars are.
All right. Well, we got the 67 Chevelle, got the 71 Chevelle, we got the 69 Z28, which is not a real Z28. It's an LS infused 6-speed, beautiful car. We got the Trailblazer, we got the ZL1, and out there, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna be like, "How did this get in there?" I got a '96 Lincoln Mark 8.
All right.
Mark 8. Actually,
yeah,
that's all right.
It's not bad. Yeah. So what's the wife drive?
Santa Fe.
A Santa Fe. How'd that one sneak in there?
She's not a car gal, is she?
She loves that car, and she loves me, so she doesn't really care. And, she's just like, as long as because when she first came in and saw what I was doing, she snuck up on me. First time she came to my house, I was in the garage, working on. I was welding a bracket so I can use a hydraulic clutch in the Chevelle, because I had to weld a bracket so I could put the eye bushing for the slave cylinder and everything like that. And so I'm sitting up there welding, and I take my mask off, right? And I turned around, right? And I'm glad she wasn't looking at the pretty blue light. But so I turned around, I was like, oh, she's just standing there like, just getting an eye gander of all the stuff that I had up in here. Had one beautiful car in here, the other cars like in, with fenders off, engine all over the place and everything. And the first thing she says, when you told me that you work with cars, that you like to tinker around, I'm thinking it was like my brother and my father on the weekend, maybe change a windshield wiper, or do brake job or something like that. But I'm looking and, all I could think is God give people talent. And this is one of your talents. This is something that you must do, and right there, the Rubik's Cube kind of solved itself, because I'm used to women, girlfriends coming in here. You still in the garage? Why are you still there? What's it called? Well, I want to go out to dinner and all that, which is fine, but what's it called? Like I'm used to hearing that, You're not done yet. Why are you still in there? I'm used to that. So when that comes in and says something like that, I'm just like, Wow.
Here you go.
Very
All right,
good.
now back on the wall behind you, it's lined with trophies. Tell us a little bit about that.
And they better not be bowling
that,
trophies.
Yeah.
that was something. There's a couple of football, there's a couple of basketball, baseball, track. Those are mine. There's a small little, but those, those trophies right there, like those were just my parents. They used to be dating bowlers. My mother's like a professional bowler.
It is a bowling
Average
trophy.
Trophies.
Yeah. So I put them there, because like they when when they moved into the condo, they just had so many trophies that they just gathered out, like because they've been bowling since the early '70s, and they just had so many trophies. I was like, it'd be a shame to throw them away, So
They're
I just
bowling
stacked them up
trophies.
on there, and I never really even thought about it. And people think, like, hey Terry, I'll bowl you for a game if I win, you install my LS or something like that. And I'm just I'm just like, trust me, like the bowling gene did not rub off, from me, because I can bowl, but I think my highest game is like 190, but my mother, her average is like a 240, 220, 240. And my father, like his highest game was I think he almost got a 300. I think he almost got a 300, but he never got that 300.
Wow. Wow. All right. So what's some of the future? What are some of the future projects in on your mind? I mean, you're working on the 67, so that's under construction. What's in the future after that one?
In the 67 Chevelle, it's bare bone. I got an LS engine sitting right there waiting for it with a 6-speed over there, and I got to redo a 12 bolt over there. So it's a matter of just getting time. Well, it's not even so much time. Me and my buddy, we went halfies on a rotisserie from George Rubistello from Pink's All Out. I went to his house. I didn't know who. I was like, went on Facebook Marketplace to buy a rotisserie. Saw it for a really good price. And I went up there. Next thing I know, George Rubistello opens the door. I'm like, look at this guy. And so we became good friends. And I bought a couple of other stuff off him. And so me and my buddy went halfies on it. Now, he's a guy who builds like $200,000 cars. So he really needed one. And as soon as I brought it down, I brought it to his house. We put a 69 Mustang, 70 Mustang on it. And I only needed it for like maybe 2 weeks, but he had it for about 2 years already. So I'm just to the point where I'm going to go and rent one, or maybe just because like the car is not ready. He's building this car it's a big high-end build. And I can understand it, and that's fine. So what I should have did was I should have not dropped off at his house. I should have just dropped it at my house because he would have had it like maybe 2 weeks later. But that's all fine. So I'm just going to look for another rotisserie just so I can either rent one or, maybe even if I have to buy one, then I'll be a renter, because like it seems like that's a big thing around here. People rent rotisseries. I didn't know that. I was like, it makes sense,
Yeah.
instead of having that big monstrosity laying up in your house,
Wow.
So what's in the future for you? What kind of cars are you thinking about doing next?
Well, the bucket list, what I want to do is I want to take that Lincoln Mark 8 and I want to put an LS in that thing with a 6-speed. That's one.
The Ford guys are cringing right now.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right because like I think the Mark 8 is one of the most prettiest cars that Ford has ever made. Like later year, I should say, next to the Super Coupe, because I before the Mark 8, I had a Super Coupe, but it was just it needed power. I mean, like even though I did all I could with the 6-cylinder supercharged, it needed more power. That car needed to be faster. But I would like to have another 67. I'd like to have the missing Chevelle is 69 Chevelle. That's the missing Chevelle. 69 GTO. And it doesn't matter if it's a Le Mans, but you could buy the parts to make it look like a Chevelle because, or either a GTO because I wouldn't, like if someone said, Terry, here's a 1967, 69, GTO, numbers matching all that. Thank you very much. Barry Jackson, get rid of that thing. I would get rid of it and I would get a Le Mans. And then now I would feel comfortable about taking that engine out and tweaking it out. Plus with a whole bunch of money in the for the build. So that's one. I like a 69 Firebird. That's one. Oh, and a 69 Riviera. Those are the ones that are something, no, don't forget the U. So I got a couple of them.
Yeah.
You know, you could always get the Canadian Beaumont from 1969, which is basically the Chevelle body, but everything else on it is Pontiac. That way you have
but I just don't like the front grille on that Beaumont. I mean, it's you know,
it's a little different.
In the taillights, it's a little bit different. And no, I'm even meticulous even with the 68 and 69 Chevelle. I mean, they look similar, but the 69 just looks a little bit more aggressive. I mean, like, you know, I know it's the same car with the wing window and on the door and everything, but I like a 69 when they all that wing windows and all that. You know.
All right, Terry Wilson with us here with Two Tired Guys Productions, GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene in the morning, and we're glad you could tune in with us. Randy Kerdoon from KNX 1070 Radio and Talking About Cars, and where we talk to celebrities. And, you know, this is kind of you are a celebrity within the industry right now, Terry. I mean, you're a TV star now, too. Look at this. You got your own videos and part of Monster Garage.
That's right. And when you get when you get your own show, then you're going to be on Talking About Cars. Then we'll just rehash this whole thing all over again.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Oh, we rehash the whole thing. Not a problem. Rehash it. Not a problem.
All right, let's get into something a little bit more dicey. Randy's our Mopar guy. You're the Chevy guy. I'm going to pick on Ford. Pony cars. But a lot of people call them muscle cars. They're pony cars. What's your favorite Mopar pony car?
Mine
or his? Because I'm the Mopar guy.
You're the Mopar guy. Okay.
So you're asking the GM guy, what's your favorite Mopar pony car?
I'm
pony cars. Okay.
Let's see.
Let me make sure. So now, would the Cuda be a pony car considered?
Yeah, that's a pony car.
I think so.
Yeah, those weren't.
Yes, it would have to be the 70, 71 Cuda. 100%.
Okay.
Agree.
All right, Randy, your favorite Mopar pony car?
Oh, Mopar. Yeah, well, Mopar. I would agree with that, because although, you know, it's interesting now that they're making the Challenger, because Plymouth doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
There was always an effort to come up with some sort. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the Barracuda name and the Cuda name still is trademarked by the current Chrysler Corporation, which is part of Fiat. And the thought is somewhere down the line, they are going to come back with a Dodge or Chrysler Cuda. And thus, I've seen drawings and I've seen pictures of it's going to be smaller than the Challenger, which, by the way, at the rate they're making this Challenger look exactly the same. And I don't mean exactly. There have been some changes, especially there was a remodel at 2015. But the bodies technically has been the same since the original design car back in 2006? Something along those lines?
2005, 2006, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, I'm interested to see what they come up with next. But I agree. I think that the Cuda of the 70s was pretty cool. I think also I liked the Barracuda from 66. I just liked the design, the front end design. It looked a little different than what I thought was 64 or 65 was pretty bland, although the body was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So, but those cars, yeah, I agree though. When you take a look at the pony cars from Mopar, that has to be of the 70s, their hottest vehicle.
Yeah. And like you, I like the 66 over the first 64, 65s. The 66 had sharper lines, but it had that 14 cubic foot rear window that was just so cool. And I do like that. Yeah, it was huge. I mean, you could get a suntan on the back of your neck without ever having to get out of your car. But
it's like the hanging on the glass.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, exactly. Of which we've seen a few times. As a matter of fact, Randy and I interviewed the guy that owns the current one that Bob Riggle didn't roll over. But my favorite, though, Leno was in it. And the pony car from Mopar that's my favorite, I'm tossed between the AAR Cuda and the green machines that they drove in Trans Am. So I was still I wasn't a drag race fan at the time. I was a road race guy. So the AAR Cooters that I guess was Parnelli Jones or Parnelli Jones did, and then I got a mental blank on the driver of the green machine. Gosh, what a time to go blank. normally when we're talking
This
about
is
something.
this is called the editing opportunity,
Well,
Bob.
I can go in my closet and get the model out. It'll have his name on it. You guys sit back there for a second. I'll be right back.
Hold on just a second. What are you looking for now? What are you looking
The
for?
number 77 Challenger that ran in Trans Am.
All right, hold on.
There were two drives, 76 and 77.
Talks amongst yourselves.
Talks amongst
Wait a minute.
ourselves. They were green with vinyl roofs because they had acid dipped them so much they had to put something on it to disguise the roof collapsing. But one of my friends, Tony Adamowicz, drove one of them, and he won one race. Sam Posey drove the other car. Sam Posey drove the number 77 car, and Tony Adamowicz drove the number 76 car. And they were a force to be reckoned with, but I think they only won one race in the 1 or 2 seasons that Challengers were in the Trans Am series. And the cars were basically too heavy. The Challenger's always been a heavy car. It's always been a big car. It was bigger than the Cudas, and it was heavy.
See, now, if you if you're saying which is my favorite, if we go with like a little deeper, which is the favorite CUDA, I would have to go. My particular favorite one would be the AAR. I think the AAR CUDA looks a lot better than the Hemi. Yeah. I just think it's just a better looking. If I saw the AAR CUDA, Hemi CUDA, or whatever CUDA other CUDAs were sitting on the lot, Terry pick one. I'm jumping in the AAR CUDA with that big nostril in the front of the hood. I'm jumping in that one.
They were cool, and I like the side graphics on those.
Yep.
So,
That's how I ended up on eBay. So just imagine what it looks like. It's green. It's a Dodge Challenger.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
use your imagination, for God's sakes.
They were Challengers. They were a slime green. I think that was what I don't think Mopar called it slime green, but it was a slime green color.
Mm-hmm.
Number 77 and 76. They were team cars. They had a vinyl roof. Black vinyl roof. Sam Posey drove one. Tony Adamowicz drove the other. And then there was the AAR Cudas. But the Challenger just always looked wider to me than the Cuda did. It looked lower and it looked wider because of the shape of the body. But
it was a subtle touch on the pillar as well. I mean, as far as that whole roof line. But I'm more of a CUDA. I think the CUDA lines on the quarter panels are a little bit better looking,
Yeah, it kicked up in the back. All right. Yeah. Final questions for the day. Randy, you have a question for Terry?
Let's see. As long as we're talking about cars we all like and pony cars we all like, let's come up with, since you're the Chevy dude, what is the Chevy pony car you like? You've mentioned Camaros. Is that really your ultimate? And if so, what year?
You know what? I tell you what, I'm going to be honest with you guys. 69 Camaro was a car that I always wanted as a kid. It always escaped me. By the time I couldn't afford one when I got 16 years old, went to college, always wanted one, got out of college, I had to be responsible, couldn't get it. Eventually, I did get that 69 Camaro. And I love it. I love my 69 Camaro. I never get rid of it. But, I'm not saying that to drive that car is a disappointment. It's not. It's a good car. I love the car. I love driving it. But the car that fits me best is the Chevelle because it's a wider car. It's a more comfortable car. 69 Camaro, it's not that it's Corvette tight. It's nice. You can grip it. You can, it's a nice car. But the Chevelle is just a touch. You love both of your children. But, one may play a sport that you played and the other one may do something different, but you have a relationship with both of them. But, so I would do a 69 Camaro again. Let me stop. My favorite pony car is 69 Camaro. I'm not going to lie. I just love them. I just love it. It's got to be a 69.
And it makes you wonder what a pony car actually means. I mean, does that also mean the Chevelle would actually qualify as a pony car? Probably not. It's mid-size, right?
Yeah, that's enough. I think Chevelle qualifies on the muscle car.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go that route, we're going to go with 69 Camaro. 69 Camaro all day long. All day long.
All right, Randy.
Let's see. Chevy pony car. See, I'm kind of like a C-body guy in Mopar. So the bigger cars and whatever they're put together. You were talking about Mopar earlier, and while you're talking, I could have brought up Roadrunner. I could have brought up, and the thing that really kind of makes me kind of interested is like those those 69, 70, 71 Plymouths. I always thought those were awesome. I thought those were really cool, and especially the Sport Fury GTs and that kind of thing. But to talk about Chevys, I had a 68 Malibu back in the day. I also had some others, and it's really hard to,
Hard.
Yeah, it is, because they had so many really cool things that Chevy, and I bring up Chevy and also GTO Pontiacs, I think, are pretty awesome. But again, that's muscle car.
Yeah.
Pontiac didn't have anything like, Firebird.
Yeah, Firebird.
Firebird wasn't bad. Firebird was pretty nice.
Would you put those in the same category, though? I mean,
yeah, well, I think you almost have to from a body standpoint. If you take a look at the Camaro and the Firebird, they were the same car, really, except for a lot of design attributes or design changes. And of course, Pontiac's engine was a little bit different than the Chevy's engine. Buick didn't really have a pony car per se. They have the Skylark and the Grand National, which is, again, in the Chevelle column. Oldsmobile certainly didn't, unless you think the Alero could be a pony car somehow, which nobody thinks that, by the way.
No.
And of course, Cadillac, up until recently, didn't even get into that neighborhood. So, I think if you're talking Camaro versus Corvette, because that's not really, Corvette's not a pony car, that's out and out sports car. So I think Camaro has to be the answer here. I just think, although I kind of like Firebirds as well.
Yeah, and I do too, and I agree with you. The Firebird to me is the more exciting. The Camaros became belly button cars. Sorry about that, Terry. Everyone had a Camaro.
Is that a lint joke?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, just checking.
Is it lint? No, it's Friday. No, it's not lint. It's Hanukkah.
No, that's lint. That's but I'm bummed.
Bob, yeah. But the Firebird
be here all show, ladies.
All show, yeah. The Firebird to me was the epitome of GM pony cars. It had the Trans Ams. You can't beat the Trans Am. Chevrolet had nothing to compete against the Trans Am.
Eastbound and down.
They had the Z28, but who was driving the Trans Am? It was Burt Reynolds, the Bandit. Come on. There was no Camaros like that. The reverse hood scoop sticking out there with the big block, the shaker hood, the big spoiler in the rear. Camaro had a spoiler, but nothing like the Firebirds. The wheel spats on the side, the honeycomb wheels, the engine turn dashboard on the Trans Am, the gold and black machine. Firebirds got it to me. If I was going to get,
I'll tell you what. This is what we can do. Okay. I think first gen Camaro takes it, no doubt. Between Camaro, Firebird, Camaro
69, yes. 69, yes.
I think 67. I think the first gen Camaro grabs it. I mean, and walks away with it.
Number wise, it definitely did.
It walks away with it. Even though I do like a 69 Firebird, the Camaro Z28 and the Camaro from 67 to 69 killed it. Yeah. Now you come into 70 to 73. All right, that's questionable. Yeah. Those 3 years are questionable. It can go either or, because the Trans Am and the Z28, 1970, 73, they're both pretty cars. So I give it almost like a draw. Now you come into about 77 to about 77, 74 to about 77. Trans Am kills it. 74 every year, not just one. 74, 75, 76, 77. Z28 got nothing. All right. Now you come into 78 to, let's say, 81. All right. Early, I would say I would have to give it to Trans Am. From 77 to, or should I say 78 to about 80, I have to give it to Trans Am.
Right.
Maybe 70, but I don't know, 79, 80, those Z28s were looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, because Trans Am, that's when we went with the funky tooth, headlights, that whole front bumper weird thing looking. So I think I'm going to have to, from 78 to about 81, I'm going to have to give it to the Z28. I think I'm going to have to give it to that.
I kind of agree with you. In 82, when they came out with the same basic body and the Pontiac engines were gone, that's when I lost interest in pony cars.
Yeah.
When they were unique, that was great. When GM started merging motors and basically you couldn't tell what it was unless you looked at the badge, that's when they died to me.
Knight Rider years of Pontiac, I think, is when they lost their way. I just think you didn't look at that as to me. It just didn't look like a Pontiac Firebird should look
No,
like.
no.
Was
Yeah,
it? And Chevy's version of that, I think, was much more dynamic, and I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.
IROC, yeah, I give it to IROC. But the later years, like when they came out the GTA, Trans Am was looking pretty good.
GTA was an amazing car, and that was a big step ahead in that respect. There was also the turbo versions that
I was going to say that. I don't know about
yeah, the turbo Trans Am that came out, unfortunately, had a small motor, and no one thought of it, but those were unique. And Chevy had nothing like it. There was no turbo Camaro. There was the Pontiac had the turbo. They had the technology. Pontiac, to me, had more technology than Chevrolet did. Even back in the original Firebird, when they first came out, the base motor was even more exciting with the overhead cam 6-cylinder versus Chevy's old pushrod stove bolt.
Well, they said it in their slogan. They build excitement, and that's what it was.
They did.
I mean, you jump in, if you jump in an IROC, let's say 88 IROC, you jump in one of those, it's nice, but then you go jump in that Trans Am, you turn the car on, it lights up in orange and everything like that. I was like, wow, look at this, because I had two of those cars. How many of those Trans Ams? I think I never had an IROC. I never had an IROC Camaro. I always had Trans Ams of that year. From that on, I always had, Camaros, and I had a 77 and a 78 Trans Am, but I never had an IROC from 83 to whatever, 92, whatever. I never had that body style. It's always been Trans Ams. And like I said, that's the excitement. You lights pop up and, you just like,
And keep in mind, Chevy was basically the lower rung of the General Motors ladder.
Right.
That's Pontiac came next, which was the more dynamic of the two. Then you'd get into the Oldsmobile, then you'd get into the Buick, then you'd get into, the Cadillac. But yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And you're right. Pontiac had just a little bit more pizzazz, I think, than the Chevy did.
Yeah.
I couldn't pinpoint it, but I'm just like, this IROC is nice. Don't get me wrong, but look at this train.
Yeah. All right, we're coming to the close of the show. Terry, tell us a little bit about what we can expect on Coverman66 on YouTube. What's coming up?
Well, I'm staying true as far as like all the videos. I'm still pumping videos out. I don't know what the future holds. All I know is that, like I say in my videos at the very end, if it wasn't for people like yourself, there could be no me without you. And I really mean that. And I just keep my fingers crossed and that I can continue to do these videos. And that's what it's all about, caring and sharing the knowledge.
All right, great. I appreciate it. Randy Kerdoon, KNX 1070, talking about cars. We're going to do another Talking About Cars episode this afternoon. That'll be out in a while. And we just interviewed Larry Dixon. If you haven't already caught that, radio.com is where you can find it right now. iTunes,
Apple Podcasts, the radio.com app, knx1070.com, and look under podcasts. Also, let's see, iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever you get your podcasts, or should get the really good podcasts. They'll be there. And then coming up in 2 weeks, the video version of that will be on our Two Tired Guys YouTube channel. So you'll want to check that out as well.
So join us with that. Terry, thank you very much for joining us all the way from New Jersey. I mean, this is a cross-country event here.
It was a beautiful, beautiful groove. And listen, we get to see me, Randy, and Bob. We're going to do something else. And we're going to also, drink some with me.
Okay.
Even though I don't drink root beer, but even still, y'all guys drink whatever y'all want.
I'll be right alongside you. I'll be right alongside you with the Dr. Pepper. Don't worry about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Hot Rod Bob, Randy Kerdoon, Terry Wilson. You've got gas, the morning edition. Take care now.
Take care, everyone.